So we're gonna actually talk about what we're excited about from new, like either Netflix, Hulu, etc. that's coming out. So one of the things I'm excited about on Netflix is that I Love You Man and Talladega Nights is coming back, and well, they're not coming back, they're coming onto it. And if you guys haven't seen I Love You Man, it's a pretty good movie. It's got Jason Segel and it's got Paul Rudd. Sorry, I had a blank there. Paul Rudd is one of my favorite actors, and it's basically about a guy who's getting married, and he really doesn't actually have that many friends. And then he was actually at a bar one time and he just had a drink with Jason Segel, and it talks about their friendship and how it developed into actually being a best man. And it's kind of a cool story because it's like you feel for, there's people out there where it's like they don't have a lot of friends, and then his wife or his fiance had like so many friends, and they're just talking crap behind his back, saying, "Oh man, it's like he's got no friends," and then they become friends at the end. It's like it's a really corny movie, but it's so good.
I love Paul Rudd.
Me too.
Just looking at Jason Segel, I don't know why, but just looking at him makes me laugh. Like I don't know what I've watched with him in it. Like I guess
Segel?
I'm not like a huge fan of him, but just like looking at him, like directly looking back at me, like it makes me chuckle a little bit.
I was gonna say, and then everyone knows Ricky Bobby with Talladega Nights. That one's a little more raunchy, but I Love You Man's a tearjerker. I don't have to talk about Talladega Nights as much because everyone knows about Ricky Bobby driving a car, the American flag, Wonder Bread.
I've never watched it.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it basically just talks about a guy wanting to become a race car driver, and then this French guy basically overtakes him after he is in a giant crash. It's a weird movie.
About that.
It's a weird movie, but Nicole, your favorites or your interests?
I am excited for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Hey, yes.
I feel like it tells a story about spoiled little brats not getting their way, and then the little boy that doesn't have a lot of money gets to finally live his dream.
I remember like seeing this in, I think 2005 when it came out, and I was obsessed. The only thing I don't really live for is Johnny Depp in this movie, but everything else about it is so fun, and it's not personally like my aesthetic, but I think they do it so well. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and so all of it to me is so great.
I was kind of intimidated by the squirrel part, and I'm still kind of a little bit scared of squirrels to this day. Because she's gone.
She's gone.
I love the things that happen to each kid, like how they go through their own little pair because they're bad kids. That's like my favorite part.
And it's like you get what you it's kind of deep. Like Roald Dahl wrote the book, which Roald Dahl used to be like my favorite like author when I was a kid. And like I don't know, so I love this. I'm glad that they have like a way to show that all of the kids ended up okay.
Yeah.
Because the original didn't, and then the musical that they came out with on Broadway I think this year, it was like they didn't survive. And so it's good to see like a happy ending for them. Or not a happy, but like an ending.
That they're alive, basically. Yeah.
This is the one with the elevator, right?
Yes.
How awesome would that be to go for a ride in an elevator?
Right. Lucas, you want to talk about?
Yes. So what I picked, I haven't watched it yet, but it just recently dropped on Netflix, is The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson. So Marsha P. Johnson was a drag queen. I say this because they never totally identified as transgendered. And so they are a drag queen who had a huge involvement in the Stonewall Riot, which if you guys are not familiar with that, Stonewall Riot was a really big moment in the LGBT community, and it was kind of like our way of saying like enough is enough. And so they played a huge hand in it, and so I just thought that they are really interesting. And actually how Marsha P. Johnson died was they found, I think, their body in some sort of a body of water, and mysteriously, and they ruled it, I think, as a suicide. And so, like, whether or not we actually know the truth of what happens, I think is really fascinating. And so I would recommend for you guys to watch it. I think it always is something that you can learn from, and you can figure out a lot more about things that you might not know.
Very cool.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, very intrigued by it.
And I always love a good documentary.
Hey, yeah, true. Allie?
Okay, so I'm taking this class right now. It's called Crime and Violence in Literature, and actually tomorrow, this series on Netflix is coming out called Mindhunter, and it's about just going back into the FBI's serial killer unit, and they just go behind the scenes and talk about like the investigations and the way that they catch serial killers, and that's basically like what my class is about. So they kind of go hand in hand, and it talks about the way that like male sexual violence has developed over the past 100 years and how it's continuing to develop and where it stemmed from and how it changes over the decades and where it's going and where they think it will go and how they think it changes their investigations and things like that. So.
Oh my goodness, wow.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it does, actually. Wow, we got little opposites here with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Tailgated Nights, and then, oh my goodness.
That's a good mix.
Yeah, no, that's what we're looking for, too. It's a good mix, honestly.
Yeah, good for Netflix for having such an array of things that you're able to
I know.
Their game.
Yep, right. Just to kind of tie into everything, I'm kind of sad about this a little bit, but we're going to go into this week's favorites. And so what to tie in with this, Netflix got rid of one of my favorite shows, and it's Friday Night Lights. And if you guys don't know what it's a tear-jerking story about a Texas football team and how a person actually got paralyzed in a football game. Yeah, it's pretty intense, honestly, and it's a small town in Texas, and all they live for is high school football, which is kind of, you'd think, weird, but it's a big thing, actually. There are millions and millions of dollars are put into stadiums there and high schools there for that alone. It's actually was a real story based off of a book originally, but they just kind of expanded it into a series, which it was a movie before, but the series actually was a lot more popular, surprisingly. And it goes through a couple of 5 seasons, and unfortunately you can't watch it on Netflix, so sorry, you gotta buy it now. It's a tearjerker. There's a lot of really good scenes, and then there's some that are, but it's a good series overall.
I've never heard of it before.
It's interesting. If you're not a sports person, it's kind of hard to get into, but if you are, highly recommend it.
Sounds a lot like Remember the Titans.
It kind of is, except like the first episode, the guy gets injured, so then it goes off of that. So it's very, very interesting. Nicole?
Ozark is my life. I watched the first season on Netflix, and I watched it, I feel like, in a week, because life, you have to other priorities. But it makes you feel like you're there, and it's just like, I don't want to spoil it because it's so good. It's about a family that they didn't know that the dad was working for the drug and money laundering, and they have to move and start doing it, and the family finds out, and they all start helping, and it's just intense. People die. It's awesome. I love the whole show. It was great. I feel like you all should watch it, especially like there's some crazy people in there. I don't want to give it away. It's so good.
How many seasons are there?
But this is the only season, and the new one is hopefully going to come out. I'm dying for it to come.
Laundering money for a Mexican
Yeah.
He's
Yes.
so funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Lucas?
Hello. I'm here to introduce my favorite because it is the biggest mess I've ever seen. American Horror Story Cult. I'm obsessed with it, not for any good reasons. I have always watched the show. It's always been like one of my faves, but it's so messy. None of it like works. It's really sloppily like made, but it has a good production value. So yeah.
What's your favorite season?
My favorite season, surprise, surprise, is Coven.
Oh my gosh, same.
I prefer, okay, so I once read something or listened to something that said that really good horror things they make you root for someone, because like nothing in horror is really that scary. And so when there's someone to root for and you're worried about their like safety, then you do become scared of these things. So that's why to me like it really worked, is because like although I didn't really find it scary, you did root for the kids in it and you didn't want them to die. And so like I think those work better than something that doesn't have like a character that you can't root for. And so to me right now, American Horror Story doesn't have like a really like personable character that you can be like, yeah, I want them to survive. They all seem kind of awful. So yeah, especially Evan Peters' character and his like blue ramen noodle hair. I could not handle it. Yeah, but it's definitely really fascinating to watch.
I was gonna say I watched some of them and I kind of dropped off on that on American Horror Story, but maybe I should pick it back up. Allie?
Oh my god. Okay, so I don't know how many of you watch Bob's Burgers, but season 8 is coming to Hulu, and for all you college students, Spotify and Hulu is $4.99 a month together. So watch it. I live vicariously through this show. I am Louise Belcher 100%. I love it so much. It's just like an awkward family that does their best to get by, honestly, and I love it so much. It brightens my day in the best way, so I recommend 10 out of 10.
Jimmy Jr.
Do you know that Bob actually is the voice of Jimmy Jr.?
No.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
What?
A lot of the people that play the main family also do like the other characters' voices.
Oh.
Wow, very cool.
And like Linda, a man does her voice.
I knew
Good.
that.
He's
Yeah, I
so
knew that
funny.
one.
The guy who does Linda's voice is so funny.
That's so awesome. Good, again, good mix of, wow.
I
stuff
love
again.
like Bob's Burgers. My favorite part is, of course, like the signs.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
the-
Yeah, the, like,
yes.
special of
intro.
the day. Or yeah, in the intro where they have like the different
yeah, the
like
building
buildings. Yeah, that's always really great.